Good morning, guys. How are we doing? Today is the 16th of June 2021 and the guys across the road have started early. They've got themselves a big, diggery thing, which is all kinds of great. So I'm sorry about the noises in the background, but that's them. They got a job to do. It's what they're paid for, right? Okay. So there's a little bit of upset that's occurred because of the house across the road and the people who own it. Even more so since news came out that they don't even live in York. They are people who live in London, who have bought up the house across the road cheaply to turn it into student accommodation. Now, I'm all for people buying up property if they want to, help the community, be part of the community, are part of the community. But to buy up a house, split it in two, turn it into accommodation that is not affordable for people in York, or the majority of people in York without some kind of rental assistance, is appalling. Apart from which, they don't know the area. They don't know the area. They got no idea. They're going to dump a bunch of students, about four bedrooms of students, across the road with no parking in a place that has 3 car park spaces for 8 flats. 8 flats, okay? That's space that is held for carers, for ambulances, for personal cars, and it does get annoying as a resident when other people take your space, because it's like, well, where the hell are we supposed to park? And we bloody live here, Grumpy, right? Not the builder's fault, really, really not. But it does annoy me. If you're not part of a community and don't intend to live there, don't buy property there. You can't be a good landlord and buy property miles away from where you live. It's just not possible. It really, really isn't. So, yeah. Also, like I said, you don't know the area. Are they aware that the street we live on is notorious? That every night, pretty much in the summer, we have police cars and ambulances going up and down here because of drunken violence? That there are, at least in this part of the street where they've bought the house and turned it into student accommodation, or turning it into student accommodation, there's at least 3 major drug dealers. Are they aware of that? See, the other half of the house is being turned into accommodation for a family. I would never bring my kids up here. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't, and I probably wouldn't stayed myself as long as I had if I had an option, to be fair. But we keep to ourselves and, we don't rock the boat. It is just what it is. But having rental accommodation and being a landlord is a responsibility that you need to take seriously. Now apparently the people who own the house across the road are Bulgarian, which means nothing, absolutely nothing. We don't really care, we don't. What we do care about is that they're not part of the community. They don't even live in York. So they're leaving probably vulnerable students who are first time away from home to deal with this street. Now, admittedly, we don't live up the dodgy end. We don't. We live down the beginning, but doesn't mean it doesn't have its issues down here as well. And to have a student accommodation across the road from elderly and disabled people is probably not the greatest plan. If anything, the landlords are going to end up in this serious shit with people ringing them all the time going, sort your tenants out. I really don't care. I'm not going to be here for that long anyway. It doesn't bother me. It's just the attitude they've had from the beginning to the end, and it's like they don't care about anybody else. They've proven that time and time again. They've hired people that have ignored safety protocols. Like the garage, when it was being taken down because it's full of asbestos, was just being literally ripped apart by guys that didn't have masks on, weren't looking after themselves or the people around them. And it's frustrating. It really, really is. Now apparently the guys that they hired to do it to start with ripped them off and ran away with 70 grand. Can kind of see why they did it. Don't think it's a good idea. Not a good thing. Don't rip people off. Not a good thing. Doesn't matter who they are. But they didn't deserve that. But what they do need to do is actually look at the area they've chosen. Talk to the community. Talk to the neighbours. But obviously they won't, because they don't care, because they don't live here. And they're not the ones who have to put up with it. So they really just don't give a shit. And that's a sign of a shitty landlord. It really, really is. Which unfortunately is the case for many properties in York that are owned by property developers or landlords in places where they can't afford to buy property where they are buying it up here and causing all sorts of issues for people who literally can't afford the rent. Can't afford the rent. They can't. We're not on London wages up here. We're on York wages. That's we don't get special dispensations for living in York like you do in London. You don't. It's just what it is. And it gets frustrating. It really, really does. So, you know, I mean, like I said, I mean, if we could go private rental, I would. But the prices up here are twice what they were down in Devon. Twice what they were in Devon. Just for, you know, I'd be looking at paying double the rent I was paying for a 3-bedroom place down in Devon for a 1-bedroom place here. That's the difference in the rents. Okay, so, you know, and that's been done because of people buying up the houses that were affordable, turning them into student accommodation, charging them per week, you know, per month, what they would be for a 1-bedroom accommodation, and making it impossible for people to actually have a decent house that they can afford. I get students need to have accommodation, I do, but surely that's the university's responsibility and not landlords who are just trying to earn as much money as they can for as little work as possible. And it does annoy me, I have to admit. It does. And it's part of living in town that I absolutely hate, because I'm faced with it every single day. You know, it's hard enough for people who are working really, really hard to be able to afford rent and their bills and to feed their families. That's why there are so many food banks, is to help the working poor. It's not people who are in benefits that are in trouble. They're sorted. It's the people who are working and then they can't afford to pay their wages and stuff like that on top of it, because landlords are expecting more and more money all the time, and they just can't cover everything with the wages that are being offered. So, you know, it's a never-ending circle. It is, and it's getting worse, and it is getting worse, and you can tell by projects like the one across the road that it is getting worse. It'd be really nice if people actually, you know, thought about what they were doing before they did it and the consequences of their actions. Across the road was a really nice 3-bedroom house. It had, it was an affordable buy, actually. It was an affordable buy. It really was, because it's next council house. It had permission for extension, which was already on there because they were going to extend before they split up. Had a huge backyard, huge front yard. Would have been an amazing house for anyone who wanted to have it and do the extension. And they could have had room for, you know, an amazing edible garden as well as, you know, fun garden, because it was a corner house. Big garden. But no, been turned into what it is, and just to fill someone's pockets. Oh, and the best bit is that once they've made their money back, they've already said they're selling it. Yeah, once they've made their money back, they're gonna sell it on. Yeah, so they're only intending to own it for 5 years. Good, isn't it? Anywho, I'm gonna go. I'm really cranky about this morning, I'm not gonna lie. I just think that, you know, gardens are really, really important places. Community is really, really important. And when you have people that are deliberately barging in on communities, destroying gardens and destroying possibilities for the local community, it just annoys me. It makes me want to plant more trees. It really, really does. So I might just be doing that. Okay. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna go. I love you guys heaps. Talking to you always helps, okay? That's all I can say, is just talking to you guys helps. All right, so I'm gonna go. I love yous. Bye-bye.